Hello, I'm Roman Vaivod. I'm a full stack developer here in Salsita. And I have a llama in my laptop and I talk to it every day. So have you heard about this chat scene, GPT, GPT chat? Or chat GPT, sorry. So it's better just to show, I guess. So there is this thing where I can sell it something like, tell me a joke. And it will try to tell you a joke. Yeah, it's not always funny, but it tries its best. And personally, yeah, I think it's such a useful tool because I don't know even how we lived before in Salsita without it. Because it just solves so many conflicts now and just really nice. Like the life is much better now. But so how it works is that there is basically some LLM model, which is like large language model, and ChatGPT uses it to convert prompt to some response, and basically just a function with a lot of parameters, and yeah, and also trained on data. So one way, there are several ways to work with those language models. One of them is prompt tuning. So what you can do with the prompt that you give to ChatGPT, you can extend it and give some more context, because sometimes ChatGPT cannot solve some task or cannot understand what do you want from it. So the way you do is that you can do some so-called prompt engineering or prompt tuning and add some context, give some examples of questions and answers that you expect. And then you kind of hope for the best that ChatGPT will be performing better. Another way is to fine-tune a model. This is more complex. This involves actually adjusting the so-called weights of the model. So if you think of the model like a function, like some black box with input and output, then you can imagine that those weights are some kind of knobs configurations that adjust which output the function will produce. And actually, why those models are called large is that they have billions of those weights on them. I think latest GPT-4, I think it has like over 1 trillion. So ChatGPT works, and it's probably one of the best artificial generic intelligence that we have. But the problem is that sometimes you want to run the chatbot offline, and the problem is that there are some privacy concerns that, for example, you cannot use some private sensitive information. You cannot post it really in ChatGPT because you don't really know how it will be used afterwards, or if it will be stored somewhere, anything. So you don't want to expose your sensitive information. And it's one of the main purposes maybe to run it offline. Also, there are some devices or some situations where you do want to get some artificial intelligence in hand, but you do not have connection to internet. So It's another use case, and I mean privacy again. It's for example, in an IT company, if you want to get some code suggestion, you basically cannot use so much those copilots and ChatGPT things on the code that is some production codes that you don't want to expose because it's intellectual property. So let me show that how I run it on my MacBook. Doesn't show anything yet. Yeah. And if I will be able to present. And I'm not. Let me try again. Can I show? Yeah, all right. Also a very short demo, but the kind of the beauty of it is that I'm actually running the inference, which is basically the act of producing output by LLM. I'm running it on the iPhone simulator. And I'm using a large language model called StarCoder. And you can see that it's working pretty okay. It's quite fast. And as I said before, those language models, they have millions and billions of those weights. So those function is very complex and very hard to compute. So that's a challenge to run it somewhere offline, like on your MacBook. But you can see that it's already possible. So let me come back to presentation. So yeah, it runs on iPhone, but actually the thing is that to make it work, there are like several different ways to reduce the model and to simplify it and to reduce the size of the model. And of course, because you do not get more computational power, but so you basically need somehow to be able to reduce this computation, but still preserve the precision of the model, which is a big challenge. And of course, the models that are quantized, that are adapted to run on the MacBooks, they may not always have the same precision and do not perform the same well, the same as the ones that are in the cloud. So here you have there is such a community called Hugging Face, and that's a community where you can a community of AI engineers and researchers where they post in open source basically the models that you can use to create your own ChatGPTs and use it in your application. So you have models. Those models you can just download and use it for your projects. You have data sets that you can use to create those models, which means like to train them, or you can use it to fine-tune those models. And you also have spaces where people just share whatever they come up with. So it's a huge platform. There are a lot of development going on and many interesting projects coming there. And that's one of the ways how you can how you can tackle the challenge of making still an interesting model to run somewhere on your hardware without necessity for so many hardware resources. By choosing some models that maybe not so generic as ChatGPT, but that can solve your case really pretty well. So you have different tasks that could do, like those models can do. Sometimes it's like image to image, not only text generation. Sometimes it's specific text generation for a specific domain. For example, the one that I was showing you, it was star code. That's the one. Maybe I can find it here. It's a model that is trained on the code only. And this star coder is mostly designed to be a coding assistant. So it's it cannot do all the tasks that ChatGPT can, but it can complete, for example, the code or do some reasoning about the code. Yes, and to use those models, there is a library from this Hugging Face community called Transformers. And I just want to show you a snippet from the code. This is what's called Google Colab, where you can basically, it's possible to execute this code, this Python code, and it's possible to also install. So you can describe your little project here, and it's all running in the cloud. So you can install the dependencies that you need. Then you can write the code here as well. And I just want to show you that it's really just several lines of code to actually use a model, because all those models can be downloaded via this Transformers framework. I don't know if you. So it's really just about importing a library transformers, importing tokenizer, creating tokenizer, loading the model. Here it's also loaded in 8-bit, so it can run even on. It's a special feature that was recently introduced in transformers that also allows to run it on not so expensive hardware. And then in tokenizer, that's basically the same prompt that you put in ChatGPT. So you generate those, you tokenize it, which is basically just producing some special kind of input that the model can understand. Then you put it into the model and you get the output. So it's really just 10 lines of code, maybe less, to actually try the model. Of course, if you have enough hardware, or you can use those Colab clouds, which I think is pretty cool. And so another thing that a really project that becomes more and more bigger, that just started like a little side project where basically I think the Llama model that was developed by Facebook, this is also a large language model, kind of similar to ChatGPT, also generic, that I think the code was leaked. And as a side project, one, yeah, Georgy Gerganov, I think he created like adapting this model to run in pure C, C++ that allows it to run on your MacBook. And I think it was done like just a couple of months ago, but now the project contains not only Llama model, but it contains, yeah, I'll increase a bit. As like examples, you have yeah, maybe all right, it's not here, but it contains a lot of examples of different models. So many different models start, also create like processor models so that it can be run via this Llama CPP, which is really cool because that allows you to run different models on your MacBook. So you see like there are like different supported models here. And this is a really cool thing because it shows the video that it actually uses the Whisperer, which is a language model that transforms the audio of the speech to the text, so it recognizes the text. And I think the fact that it can run it just on his MacBook is quite amazing. And I cannot share Is there a way to share? I will not be able to share the sound, I guess, because how can I? No, because I'm sharing from, yeah. I will not be able to share the sound. But you can help me. Yeah, I apologize. It will be a call, of course. But basically on the video, sorry. So basically on the video, what happens is that the person talks and you can see, you cannot see. You can see that the text generates pretty quickly. Basically, just as the person talks, the text already is able to generate, and the model runs basically smoothly on the MacBook with really not so many resources. And it's quite amazing thing that maybe it's just no, you maybe think, oh, all right, like we have text recognition like for a long time. But the problem is that it usually always was running in the cloud with consuming a lot of hardware resources, and now you can just run it on the MacBook, which is really amazing thing. So basically, as a person speaks, we can recognize the text and just prints in the program. So yeah, I just have like some list of news of whatever I come down to. So there is this Andrei Karpaty. He's the one who is working in OpenAI, the company that stands behind the ChatGPT. You see that he's previously director of AI in Tesla, and so he's quite active on social networks, and he has a Twitter account. He has also a really cool YouTube channel where he explains a lot about LLMs and neural networks and how AI works. And so he reposts that exactly that there is some new platform, like a new engine, where that makes the fine-tuning of the models even simpler. And he actually, yeah, sorry, actually states that even prompt engineering, that even if it works, which was kind of surprising, he also says that it stagnates. And the fine tuning of your personal, like, of the LLM is a canon, and it's something that's probably gonna, like, it's something that is maybe the future, something, yeah. Yes. So you have this platform Lamini where you can use different models. You can choose a model. You can fine tune them there. The Lamini also allows you to produce a huge data set from just 100, 20, 100 examples that you have. So you can fine tune your model even like much really well from small data set. And it just appeared, so there is a lot of development in this direction. So this is a post from creator of Llama CPP. He also says that basically that in inference at the age that it's a really, really perspective thing, that there is a really, really growing interest for that, and that a lot of people approach him with many different ideas about projects and startups. And so you see just March 16, but it's really, really skyrockets the interest in running the LLMs at the edge, means on the devices. Like on the hardware, like your MacBook and low-end devices. So here, Andrei Karpat actually, it's, I think, very recent. It's like 6th of June, and he just basically priced the Georgy Girganov, and Georgy Girganov actually decided to start a company from this side project called GGML AI. That was just, you see, started just a few months ago, and now becomes a really useful library that with a big community and with a lot of interest from everyone, which is, I think, really, really exciting. This is another video, also very recent, like 4th of June. And the thing was with Llama CPP that at first it was running only on CPU, but now Georgy Giganov managed to, and his and Llama CPP community managed to actually run the inference on the GPU cores on your MacBook. And now you do not use basically any CPU power. Maybe it will be again better just. And the deal is that the inference happens really, really fast for really huge models. You see how fast it wasn't working. Like if you try GPT-4, it's of course because of many, like it has trillion of those parameters. But the fact that you can run some model that with billions of parameters so fast is just it's really mind blowing. So you use like 24 tokens per second with a 13 billion model. You see, and even tries to do 65 billion model, and it's also still, 5 tokens per second. I did try to run some not optimized on my MacBook, and it was like super, super slow. But the fact that it's already possible to run some such big models so fast on your MacBook is just amazing. And this is just another news. I don't know. Whoever likes gaming. So yeah, in conclusion, I want just to say that I think it's There are a lot of perspective. It's a really perspective direction, and in my from this research that I made, like very I didn't dive so much, but I do think that if you can run such complex models on your MacBook, it will be, if not now possible, it will be soon very possible to just run some internal ChatGPT that you can just buy some not so expensive server, maybe I don't know, couple of thousands euros, maybe with couple GPUs, not high-end ones, and you can run it just locally and have pretty good performance and pretty good precision from those chatbots. And for example, for IT company, it could be, I think, really beneficial to run a GPT like bots that can do some suggestions on the code, and you could use it in your daily tasks, even with the code that goes to production, because you can be sure that about privacy of it. Yeah, I wanted to show just there is this like playground, but no, I guess. Yeah, it's. I think the model like performs pretty well, and again, maybe it looks like okay, just another ChatGPT, but the thing is that this model doesn't require so much hardware to run. ChatGPT runs. It really requires a lot of hardware to create those inference, like to produce this output from your prompt. And here it's just running Hugging Face in space. Well, they probably just produce provide the endpoint for Hugging Face, but they definitely don't have such computational resources like OpenAI. And the fact that it works really well, it's quite cool. Okay. Yeah. So that's all from me. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, let me know.